Hi all, welcome to the video lecture series of Object-Oriented Programming. These are the topics that we'll be discussing in this video lecture. They are calling order of constructors and method overriding. We will start with calling order of constructors, the order in which the constructors will be called when inheritance is implemented. We know what is inheritance. Inheritance is a relationship between two classes, right? There will be one parent class and there will be one child class, one or more child classes. So it is a property by which one class can acquire the properties of another class. That is a definition of inheritance. So when we try to create an object of a child class, okay, we know that for creating objects we have to call or we have to make use of the constructor. But a child class will have a parent class also, and the parent class also will have their own constructors. So when we call or when we create an object of a child class, then the constructors of its parent class also will be invoked implicitly. Implicitly means automatically, we can say. We will not know that it is working in the background. So whenever we create an object of a child class, I repeat, whenever we create an object of a child class, so when we call a class as a child class, when there exists a or an inheritance relationship. Okay, we are talking about inheritance relationship. So whenever we create an object of a child class, then the constructors of its parent class also will get invoked. Okay, and the order of execution, the order in which the constructors will be invoked. We know that there are different types of inheritances. We have single inheritance, we have multi-level inheritance, we have hybrid inheritance, isn't it? So in case of multi-level inheritance, we have for a child class there can be a grandparent also. So in that case, in such cases, so we have to generalize the way we have to say this, right? So the order of execution of constructors in inheritance relationship is from the parent class to the child class. Okay, so even if it is multi-level inheritance, if a class is at the bottom level, then the first constructor that will be invoked would be the constructor of the grandparent, then the parent, and then the child class. We will see some examples based on this. Then first we will see the case of single inheritance. Single inheritance means for a class there will be only one parent class. So when we try to create an object of a child class, then the parent constructor gets executed first, and then comes the child class constructor. We will see an example of this program. As you can see in this program, there are three classes: class parent, class child, and class test constructor call order. In these three classes, child is the child class of class parent because we have used the keyword extends here. So child extends parent means there exists an inheritance relationship between child and parent. Okay, that is why we use the keyword extends. Okay, so both the parent class has got a constructor here and the child class also have got a constructor here. I hope all of you know what a constructor is. A constructor is a method having the same name as that of the class, and it is used only for creating objects. Okay, now inside this class we are writing the main method. So this is the class that is going to be executed because these two classes does not have the main method, so it is not possible to execute these two classes. So when we run this program, it is this class that is going to be executed because the main method is inside this class. And inside the main method, see, we are calling the constructor of the child class. So as you know, child, this constructor is a method. If you want to execute a method, we have to call it explicitly. Okay, otherwise, you have to call it manually, otherwise the method will not get invoked. So here, this line, we are actually calling the method named child. Since it is having the same name as that of the class, we call it as a constructor. So we are actually calling this constructor. So we can see the arrow mark here. When this line gets executed, we are actually going to this constructor is getting called. But before the lines of code inside this constructor gets executed, the call is forwarded to the parent constructor. So the call from this main method goes to the constructor of child class. From there immediately it gets forwarded to the constructor of the parent class. Then all the lines of code inside this parent class constructor will be executed. Then it comes back to the constructor of the child class. All the lines of code inside this will be executed. Then finally it comes back to the line from which the method call was invoked. I hope you understood the order in which the call takes place. So even if we are calling the constructor of the child class, the first constructor that gets executed will be that of the parent class constructor. Only after the constructor of parent class gets executed, the child class constructors. Now we will see how or what is the order of constructor execution in terms of multi-level inheritance. In case of single inheritance, there was only one parent, but we all know in multi-level inheritance there will be multiple levels of inheritances. That is, there can be more than one level. That means grandparent also will be there for a child class. There can be a grandparent class for the child class also. In that case, what will be the order of constructor calling? That is what we are going to see next. The calling out of order of constructors remains the same. See this example. Here we have three classes. One is the design class, then the coding class, then the testing class, and finally the test constructor call order class. As you can see, we have written class coding extends design. That means this class named coding is the child class of class design, because we have used the keyword extends, and this keyword is used only for inheritance. So there exists a parent-child relationship between the class design and coding. Design is the parent class of coding, and coding is the child class of design. And we have another class here, that is class testing. Again we have used the keyword extends. That means again it is an inheritance relationship. And see who is the parent here. Here coding class is the parent. So we can visualize a level wise inheritance, right? Design is at the top of the level, at the top level, then comes a coding class, and then comes a testing class. So we can say design is the grandparent of class testing, and coding is the parent of class testing. And see, in each of these classes we have written a constructor. This is the constructor of class design, this is the constructor of class coding, this is the constructor of class testing. Okay, and see, we are going to create the object, or we are going to call the constructor of class testing. So now when this line gets executed, as in the previous example, the call gets forwarded to the constructor of class testing. When it reaches here, it will forward the call to the constructor of its parent class. The parent class of testing is coding, so the call to the constructor of class testing will be forwarded to the constructor of class coding. When the call reaches here, class coding will again forward the call to the constructor of its parent class. So the constructor of parent class of class coding is that of class design, so the call will reach here. Now all the lines of code inside this constructor will be executed. Then it will come back to the constructor of class coding. All the lines of code inside this constructor will be executed. Then it will go back to the constructor of class testing, which was the constructor we called initially. So all the lines of code inside this constructor will be executed. Then finally it will come back to the line from which the method was invoked. So we will be getting this output. So constructor call order, this is what we print here. Then we are calling the constructor of class testing. So even if we are calling the constructor of class testing, the first line of code that is going to be executed will be that line inside the constructor of class design, because the call to the constructor of class testing, which is a child class, gets forwarded to its parent class, which again forward to the parent class of class coding. So first line of code will be this, then this one, and finally this one. So that is why we are getting the output like this. I hope you understood the calling order of constructors in terms of. Next we will see one of the most important topic or most attractive feature in Java, that is known as method overriding. We have discussed about method overloading in the previous classes, but this is method overriding. It is completely different from method overloading. We will start with the definition for method overriding. Method overriding can be defined as if the subclass or the child class has the same method as declared in the parent class. So from the definition itself, we have to make it clear that method overriding exists only if there is a parent-child relationship between the classes, or method overriding is defined related to inheritance, or in other words we can say method overriding exists only if there is an inheritance relationship between the classes. That is why we are mentioning here if the subclass means it's child class. A class is said to be a child class only if it inherits some properties from the parent class. So method overriding can be defined like this: if the subclass or the child class has the same method as declared in the parent class, that property or that feature is known as method overriding. Now what are the need, or why we need this method overriding? One is to provide specific implementation of a method which is already provided by its superclass. We will see an example to explain this feature or this usage, then it will be more clear. And second is runtime polymorphism. We will study in detail what is runtime polymorphism in another session, so don't worry about it. But these are the two different usages of method overriding, or we can say that these are the reasons why we have to use method overriding. Okay, one is to provide a specific implementation of a method, and second one is to implement runtime polymorphism. And we cannot say that method overriding exists simply. We have to ensure three things, or 3 points has to be followed if you want to say that method overriding is there. We can say that these are the three rules that we have to follow. And what are they? One is the method name, okay, must be same in both child and parent class. Only then we can say there exists method overriding. So the name of the method in the parent class and the child class has to be the same. Secondly, the parameter list also must be the same. If there is only one parameter in the parent class, there must be only in the one parameter in that method in the child class. Okay, so that name and the method the method name and the method number of parameters must be same. The name of the method in the parent class and the child class, and the number of parameters for that method in the parent class and child class must be the same. And thirdly, there must be an inheritance relationship. Okay, so method overriding exists only if there is an inheritance relation between the classes. Otherwise we cannot say that something is method overriding. Suppose we have two classes, class A and class B. Inside class A we have a method named, say, method 1. Inside class B also, if we have a method named method 1, the parameter list also is the same for both these methods. We cannot say it's a method overriding unless there is an inheritance relationship between class A and class B. Now we will see the first usage of method overriding, that is to provide a specific implementation of a method that is already provided by the parent class. Consider the situation. We know that in our country there are so many banks, right? SBI is there, ICICI, Axis Bank, HDFC, Federal Bank, so many banks are there, right? Suppose we are going to write a software for this bank, these banks. We are creating one class, okay? The class name is bank. Inside that class we have a method. The method name is get rate of interest, and this method is going to return a float value. Okay, and see, as it is mentioned in this figure, all these three banks, SBI, ICICI, Axis, all these three are banks, isn't it? So all these three classes are going to inherit the parent class bank, because since all these three are banks, it can copy so many features from the parent class named bank. Okay, so by inheritance, this method which is inside the class bank will be available for all these three classes, because that is what we mean by inheritance. Because SBI extends the class bank, that means all the variables and methods inside the class bank will be available for class SBI also. Since this method get rate of interest is available inside class bank, naturally due to inheritance this method will be available for class SBI also. Similarly for ICICI and Axis also, this method will be available. But do you think the rate of interest that is provided by all these three banks are the same? They are not the same, right? SBI is giving one rate of interest, ICICI is giving another rate of interest, Axis Bank is giving another rate of interest. So if we commonly define one rate of interest here, so all these banks will be returning the same rate of interest that is declared here. So this is our implementation of the picture that is shown in the previous slide. I have created one class, the class name is bank, and there is one method, it is get rate of interest. I am returning an integer value. Here it is returning 0. Okay, I have another class, say SBI, which is extending class bank. So SBI is the child class of class bank. Okay, so since there is inheritance relation, this method will be available for class SBI also due to inheritance. Okay, but here in this method the value that is getting returned is 0, but the rate of interest provided by SBI is 8 actually. So if we don't write this method here, okay, due to inheritance this method will be available inside class SBI also. So when we call when we want to calculate the rate of interest of the bank SBI, the value that we are going to get will be 0. Okay, so instead of that, what happens is we are writing another method with the same name, get rate of interest. See, the name of the method in the parent class bank and the method inside the child class SBI is the same. Okay, so both the method names are same, the return type is also same, the parameter list is also same. That means it is method overriding. Okay, similarly in ICICI Bank also, in Axis Bank class also, we are going to write our own method, or we are going to write this method again, that is get rate of interest. We are writing this method once again. Actually there is no need of writing this method, because all these three are the child classes of or children of class bank. So by inheritance this method will be available inside for all these three classes. But if we don't write this method, if we don't override this method, what happens is the rate of interest for all these three banks will be the same, and that will be 0 in this example. But that is not what we want, because each of these bank is giving different rate of interest. So we need to override this method. So we are writing it separate again, once again inside each class, and we are returning the corresponding rate of interest. So now when we create objects of the corresponding classes, as you can see, SBI S, new SBI, so S is the object of class SBI, I is the object of class ICICI, A is the object of class Axis. So now when I call s dot get rate of interest, see, s dot get rate of interest, this call is going to the method inside the class SBI. So we'll be getting the value 8. Similarly, when I call I dot get rate of interest, since I is the object of class ICICI, I will be getting a copy of this method. So when I call I dot get rate of interest, I will be getting the value 7. Similarly, when I call A dot get rate of interest, the value that I will be getting is 9. If this was not the case, that is, if this method overriding was not there, if I call S dot get rate of interest, okay, if this method was not there, then this call will be going to the method get rate of interest that class SBI got from class bank due to inheritance. So I'll be getting the value of 0. Similarly, I dot get rate of interest, that call also will be going to this method get rate of interest that class ICICI got from class bank due to inheritance. Again I'll be getting the value of 0. Okay, so for all these three banks, the value of rate of interest would have been 0. It had been 0 because it is mentioned as return 0. If it instead of 0, if it was 10, we'll be getting the answer as 10. For all these three banks, the get rate of interest method will be returning the value of 10. But that is not the case, right? All these three banks are having different rate of interest. So in that situation, that is what we mean by separate individual implementation of the method provided already by the parent class. So this method get rate of interest, it's already provided by the parent class bank, but we need specific individual implementation of that method. We don't want that lines of code to be executed for each of these objects. We want different lines of code to be executed for each child class, but the name of the method must be the same. In that situation, we will be implementing method overriding. So this is an example for method overriding, and this is the first usage of method overriding, that is specific implementation of the method that is already provided by the parent class. We shall conclude now. So in this video lecture, we discussed about the calling order of constructors in inheritance. When we create an object of child class, how the objects or how the constructors will be invoked, what is the order of calling of instructors, then what's the definition of method overriding, then what are the rules that we have to maintain to say that method overriding exists, and two different uses of method overriding, and we saw an example in detail explaining the first usage of method overriding. Thank you so much.